Steve, and you're here again in the office. And we're about to learn how to graph functions in standard form. Okay, this is something new, so I'm going to kind of go through this slow. This video will be lengthy, but you have not seen equations written in standard form yet. So we're going to switch standard form to y equal mx plus b, and then you will learn some really cool things about standard form, okay? What is standard form? Well, watch the video and you will find out. Ho, 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 ho. So let's get rocking and rolling. Ho, ho, ho. We're about to have FUN, 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 fun. Let me record this or I will be talking all of this for nothing, and we are recording. A beautiful whiteboard appears in the office of the Always Believe house. Oh, okay. So first off, okay, write using sentences how you would graph the line y equal negative x plus 3. Okay, so first, find the slope and y-intercept. And I'm going to abbreviate. So the slope, if we do mx plus b, sorry about my handwriting, the slope is going to be -1 and the b is going to be positive 3 in it. Okay, y'all didn't get a lot of this last year due to COVID, so this is what we did the last 2 days. Okay, the slope is equal to -1 and the y-intercept is -3. Okay, you start with the y-intercept. In a word problem, the y-intercept will turn into the starting number, okay? So graph the y-intercept. Graph the y-intercept at -3, and then your slope tells you to go down 1, right 1, from -3, and then you connect the dots. Okay, a lot of ways to write that down, but the first thing you want to do is find the y-intercept. That's your starting number. You put a dot on the y-axis at your starting number, and then you follow the directions of the slope. And remember, the slope is up or down to the right. The slope is up or down to the right. Okay, so now then we're getting into standard form. Okay, so I'm going to write down what is standard form. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. The a and the b and the c are all integers, and the x has to be positive. The a has to be positive. So in standard form, you have all integers, there's no fractions, and the a has to be positive, and this is very powerful because you'll learn how a, b, and c helps you find the parts of a line. Now then, what we're going to do next is I'm going to put 2x plus 3y equals 6 to the right of the graph, and I'm going to solve for y. This is what you should have done in 8th grade. COVID, you probably didn't get to it. So you've got to take any equation they give you and solve it for y. So we're going to solve this for y, and you do that by moving over the 2x. When you move over the 2x, it's going to turn into negative, right? So we'll have 3y equal -2x plus 6. -3y, or 3y equals -2x plus 6. And I'm going to zoom in on this. Okay. Wait a minute for the screen to catch up. So we're going to solve every equation today for y. That's huge. You've got to be able to solve these for y. So we're going to move the x to the right and then divide by the coefficient of y. Now that the coefficient of y is 3, so I'm going to draw 3 fraction bars and I'm going to divide by 3 times. So we're going to move over the x term to the other side, put it in the middle, and then divide by the coefficient of y. I will end up with y equals -2 over 3x plus 2. That means my slope is -2 over 3 and my y-intercept is 2. And remember, the y-intercept will turn into the starting number when you start doing verbal equations, okay? So we're going to start with 2. So this is the starting number. And we're going to start graphing with it. So on the y-axis, I'm going to put a dot at 2. Now then, from that dot, not from the origin, from that dot, I'm going to do the slope. The slope tells me to go down 2 and right 3. The slope tells you to go up or down to the right. Since the slope's negative, I'm going to go down. So from this dot, all you have to do is count spaces. This is not hard. There's no math. Count the spaces up. And we're going to make the slope go all the way across this grid. So from the starting number, I'm going to go down 2, right 3, and draw another dot. I can do that again, can I? So from the red dot I just drew, I'm going to go down 2, right 3. And if I try to do it one more time, I'll be off the grid, won't I? So now I'm going to go backwards. I want these dots to go all the way across the page. Get used to doing this. This is going to get used to doing the constant rate of change. Now then, I can't go down anymore, but I can go up and left, can I? So the opposite of down and right is up and left. So from the starting number, let's go up 2, left 3, draw a dot. You don't have to do any math. Count the spaces. And then do it again. Up 2, left 3. And I can't go up 2, left 3 again, can I? So I'm going to draw the line. Now then, from this line, we need 3 important parts. We know the slope, but now we need the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is first, right? So the y-intercept was 2, and I could get my x-intercept, right? My x-intercept was 3, right? So my slope's negative 2 over 3, my y-intercept's 2, and my x-intercept's 3, and that x-intercept is called a 0. That means if I put 3 in the equation, I will get 0. Now then, let's go to the questions we're supposed to answer. The slope of the line was negative 2 over 3, wasn't it? The y-intercept was 2. The 0 is also your x-intercept, and it was 3, wasn't it? Now then, this is big right here, okay? Let's write down a equals 2, or let's do this. Put ax plus by equals c. This is our standard form of the equation, right? The first thing we did was solve that for y, right? Now then, write down the a. The a is 2, the b is 3, and the c is 6. Now then, look at the answers we just got. Okay? The a, the b, and the c, and look at these answers right here. The negative 2/3, the 2, and the 3. How can I get the negative 2/3 from the a, b, and c? Where does that come from? Okay, think about it. Where do you see 2 and 3 in a, b, and c? That is correct. It's the a and the b in it. Now then, if I put a over b, I'll get 2 over 3, won't I? But the slope is negative 2 over 3 in it. So I need to do a negative a over b to get the slope. So if you have it in standard form and you put negative a over b, bam, you got the slope. That's going to be the number that's in front of the x. Now then, how can you get 2? Think about multiplying and dividing. What can you do? What can you do with the 2, 3, and 6 to get a 2? Okay, for the y-intercept. It's correct. You could use the 6 and the 3. How would you use the 6 and the 3? You would divide them. The 6 is c, and the 3 is b. So if you put c over b, which in this problem is 6 divided by 3, I'm going to get 2, won't I? Shazam! Now then, how can you get the x-intercept with 2, 3, and 6? The x-intercept's 3. That is correct. It's 6 divided by 2. The a and the b will not be the intercepts. They'll be the slopes. This is kind of weird in this problem because it works out that way. But c over a, 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay? The a and the b are not the intercepts. In this case, it works out the 2 and the 3, but you got to divide. These rules right here are how you switch from standard, okay? That's how you get the slope, the y-intercept, and the x-intercept in standard. That is pretty awesome stuff, okay? Write this down in your notes. Remember, your tests are open notes, so make sure you're writing this down. You're learning lots of new stuff today, so let's keep with it, okay? Ho, 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 ho. Now then, we're going to go to the next problem. On the next problem, we have 4x minus 8y equal negative 2. And let's switch this so it makes the problem easier. Squiggle out the negative 2 and make a negative 12. So 4x minus 8y equal negative 12. That will make our lives simpler, because if we don't, our x and y intercepts are fractions, and we don't want that. Now then, let's go to the graph. Remember, the first thing we're going to do is solve this for y. You've got to be able to solve these equations for y. You've got to be able to do that. So we're going to write down 4x minus 8y equal negative 12 over to the right. 4x minus 8y equals negative 12. Now then, I'm going to move the x to the right and divide by negative 8. I'm going to move the x to the right and divide by negative 8. So the negative 8y drops. I'm going to move the x to the right. When I do that, the sign switches, and I got minus 12 done. Now then, what's the coefficient of your y? It's negative 8. So we're going to divide by negative 8 3 times. Okay, so I'll have negative 8y equals negative 4x minus 12 on it. Negative 8y equals negative 4x minus 12. Now then, let's solve this. So we're going to get y equals, 2 negatives makes a positive. So we'll have 1/2 x. Now then, our y-intercept is going to be a fraction. So let's do, it's going to be 2 negatives makes a positive, and it's going to be 3 over 2. If you punch negative 12 divided by negative 8 on your calculator, it will turn it into 3 over 2, which is actually 1.5 in it. Okay? Now then, it's going to be kind of hard to graph this because we have a fraction. So I'm going to make a t-chart, okay, and I'm going to get some points that'll work. Now then, if I put 1 in for x, what's 1/2 times 1? It's 1/2, and 1/2 plus 3/2 is 4/2. 4 divided by 2 would be 2. Okay? So if I input 1, my output would be 2. Now then, I'm going to skip 2 spots, and I'm going to go to 3. I'm doing this because I know it's going to work, okay? So most of the time you will not have a y-intercept as a fraction. I'm just going through this to show you it's going to work. If I do 1/2 times 3, and I'll show the work over here, plus 3 over 2, I'm going to get 3 over 2 plus 3 over 2, which would be 6 over 2, and 6 divided by 2 would be 3, would it? So I could graph these 2 dots and get my line, can I? So I'm going to go over and graph over 1, up 3, draw a dot, and I'm going to go over 2 and, wait, 6 divided by 2, this should be 2, yeah, 1 comma 2. I'm going to go over 1 and up 2. So I got my 1 comma 2, or 1 comma 2 should be, I'm sorry, 1 comma 2 is right here, and then 3 comma 3 is over here at Jiminy Crickets. Mr. Toops, you're losing it, okay? So I got my 2 dots. Do y'all see those? Now then, I'm going to continue that pattern and go all the way across the screen. Do y'all notice that these 2 dots, I'm going up 1 over 2, aren't I? And that's what my slope is. My slope's 1 over 2 in it. So I'm going to continue doing this. So up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, and then I'm going to go backwards. Down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2. I've got those dots all the way across the page. It's important you're doing that because it's teaching you the rate of change. Now then, connect those dots. Okay, there's 3 important numbers you need to know. You need to know the slope, which is 1/2, and then circle your intercepts. The x-intercept we could count, can't we? The x-intercept is going to be 1, 2, 3, is going to be 3 in it. And that's going to turn into our 0 in it. And the y-intercept is right here, and notice it's a fraction, and it's 3 over 2, which is 1 and 1/2 in it. So our y-intercept's 3 over 2. So we're going to put those numbers in the table to the left. So we were able to find the y-intercept, the x-intercept, and the slope by switching it to mx plus b. Now then, let's go to the left. The slope of the line is 1/2. Jiminy Crickets. Okay, the y-intercept was 3 over 2. And the x-intercept was 3, wasn't it? Okay, now then look at what we just wrote up at the top. The slope, put down, let me do this in a different color, write down negative a over b. The y-intercept was c over b. And the x-intercept was c over a. Now then we're going to go up here above this equation, write down A, B, and C. A was 4, B was negative 8, and C was negative 12, wouldn't it? So A is equal to 4, B is equal to negative 8, C is equal to negative 12. Now then, let's make these fractions up. So for the slope, I'm going to put negative fraction bar. What does A equal to? It equals to 4. What does B equal to? It equals to negative 8. Two negatives makes a positive, and 4 divided by 8, if you punch that in the calculator, gives you the 1/2, which is the same thing as we got it. Now then, let's put C over B. C is negative 12, and B is negative 8. Notice in this equation, the A and B are 4 and negative 8. The x-intercept and y-intercept are not 4 and negative 8, are they? The x-intercept and y-intercept are not A and B. The A and the B gives you the slope. If you put C over B, the two negatives make a positive. If you punch 12 divided by 8 on your calculator, you will get 3 over 2, which is the same fraction, isn't it? Ho, 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 ho. That is more power. Now then, let's get the x-intercept. The x-intercept is one of the most powerful numbers in the equation. It's actually the answer to the equation. It's the input that outputs 0. So let's put C over A. C is negative 12, and I'm sorry, our x-intercept's negative 3 in it. I should have fixed that up. You're like, Mr. Toops, you got that wrong. I did that on purpose to see if you're paying attention. But the x-intercept crosses at negative 3, doesn't it? It's to the left of the x-axis. Okay, so negative 12 divided by 4 is going to be negative 3 in it. So with all these, with standard form, I can get all three important numbers. You need to be able to identify the slope, the x-intercept, and y-intercept, given an equation or a graph, okay? So we have just learned how to do that with standard. Make sure you're writing this down. You haven't seen this before, so this will take some repetition. Now then, let's go to the next problem. Turn the page! Okay, now then on this number, if there's not a number in front of the x and the y, put a 1 there. There's not a number in front of the x and y, put a 1 there. Now then, I'm going to put A, B, and C above here. And then my A is 1, my B is negative 1, and my C is 2 in it. But remember, we need to be able to solve this for y. You must be able to solve the equation for y. If you can't do that, something's wrong. You got to keep doing it until it becomes natural. It will happen. Believe you can do it. Okay, so to the right of the graph, we're going to write down x minus y equals, is it negative 2? It's positive 2. So x minus y equals 2. So I got x minus y equals 2. Now then I'm going to solve this for y. I'm going to move the x to the right, and I'm going to divide by the coefficient. Okay? So I'm going to take the x, I'm going to move it to the right, and when I do that, the positive x will turn into a negative x. So I'm going to write down negative y equals negative x plus 2. When you draw that arrow, you're letting the teacher know that my sign is going to switch. Now then, we got a negative y, don't we? Which is a negative 1, right? So I need to divide by negative 1 3 times. If you have a negative y, basically it's a negative 1. You just divide. Basically, you're switching all the signs. So now my negative y will turn into a positive y. My negative x will turn into a positive x. And 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. Now then, there's not a number here, but your slope is 1, right? And your y-intercept is negative 2. The y-intercept is your starting number, right? The y-intercept's a starting number. So I'm going to put negative 2 first, and then I'm going to do the slope. So on the y-axis, go down to negative 2, draw a dot. Now my slope is 1. How do you write 1 as a fraction? You put 1 over 1. Since it's positive, I'm going to go up 1 and right 2. So from the red dot, not from the origin, from the red dot I just drew, I'm going to go up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, and I'm going to continue that. This is going to make a dot right through the grid points. So up 1, right 1, I get a dot here. Up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1. Just keep repeating the process. Notice the slope of 1 is going to go through every single grid point. Now I could go backwards. So I'm going to go down 1, left 1. Notice my grid now goes up 1, right 1, all the way across the page. Make those grid points all the way across the page so you can see the constant rate of change. Don't just get 2 dots, get them all. That's going to help you figure out how to get the slope. Now then, connect the dots. And remember, we need 3 important numbers from this. We need the slope. The slope was 1. We need the y-intercept, and we need the x-intercept. Our y-intercept was -2, which is the same as this. And our x-intercept was +2. And remember, the x-intercept will be called the 0. So we're going to write down those 3 numbers. The y-intercept is 2, or the slope was 1. The y-intercept's -2, our 0 is 2. So let's go over here. The slope was 1. The y-intercept was -2. And the x-intercept, which is the 0, is 2. Now then, let's write down our fractions. Remember, the slope was, and let me do this in blue. The slope was -a over b. The y-intercept is c over b, and the x-intercept is c over a. Ho, 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 ho. Now then, let's make these fractions. So for the slope, put negative fraction bar, and then we're going to put a over b. A is 1, and b is -1 in it. 2 negatives makes a positive, and 1 divided by 1 is 1, and it matches, doesn't it? Oh, make sure you're writing this down. These fractions that you are writing down is more, Mr. Toops, more power. This is not on your formula chart, okay? Mr. Toops, more power with those fractions. Oh. Now then, let's do c over b. C is 2, and b is -1. 2 divided by -1 is -2. Notice it matches up to the y-intercept, doesn't it? Oh. And then c over a would be 2 over 1, which is equal to 2, which is the same exact thing as our x-intercept. Oh. That's just like eating an Oreo cookie. Oh, that's more power. Oh. So, to graph these lines, the teacher is going to want you to switch this to y equal mx plus b. But make sure, given standard, you should be able to get the x-intercept, the y-intercept, and the slope with these fractions, right? -a over b, c over a, and c over b gives you those important numbers. You need to be able to find the slope, the x-intercept, and the y-intercept from the equation. And remember, the x-intercept is called the 0. It's the number you plug in to get a 0. Oh! Now then, let's go to the last one in the notes. Almost the last one. Let's do number 5. We got x plus 3y equals 6. Let's just go to the right and solve it. So write down x plus 3y equals 6. I'm going to move the x to the right, and I'm going to divide by 3, aren't I? I'm going to move the x to the right and divide by the coefficient of y, which is 3. So I'm going to take this x, move it to the right, and I'm going to have 3y equals -x plus 6. When you move terms across the equal bar, the sign will switch. Oh, now then we need to divide by 3, don't we? So we're going to divide by 3 times. Oh. And that's going to get our y all by itself. So I'm going to have y equals -1 over 3x and then plus 2. Oh. Now then, let's figure out what the slope is. The slope is -1 over 3, right? And the y-intercept is 2. Remember, the y-intercept will turn into our starting number. And the slope tells us to go down 1, right 3. Since the slope is negative, we won't go up, we will go down. And then our starting number, or our y-intercept, is 2. When we do word problems, this starting number is going to make sense. So we're going to start with the starting number, which is 2, and I'm going to put a dot on the y-axis at 2. Now then, from that dot, not from the origin, from that dot, I'm going to do the slope. I'm going to go up or down to the right. So the slope tells me to go down 1, right 3. So from the starting number, not from the origin, from the starting number, go down 1, right 3, draw a dot. And keep doing that until you run off the graph. This is going to teach you how to graph that slope. Down 1, right 3. I can't go down 1, right 3 again, can I? But I could go backwards. So instead of going down and to the right, I'm going to go up and to the left. Oh. So we're going to go up 1, left 3, up 1, left 3, and that's all the dots I could get, correct? Connect those dots. Oh, oh, oh. What a blast. In case you didn't know it, your ID card makes a perfect straight edge. Oh, you should have that ID card around your neck at all times while you're at George Ranch High School. So get your ID card out, put it down there. You could use that for a straight edge. It's a straight edge with more power. Oh, oh, oh. Now then, we need 3 important numbers. We need the slope, the x-intercept, and the y-intercept. So we know our slope is -1/3. The y-intercept's right here. Circle it. The y-intercept is 2. That's going to be our starting number when we do word problems. The x-intercept is right here. And if you count over, the x-intercept is 6. And remember, the x-intercept is called the 0. The x-intercept's called the 0. Oh, what a blast. So now we're going to go to the left. Our slope was -1/3. Our y-intercept was 2. And our x-intercept was 6, wasn't it? Ho, 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 ho. Now then, let's write down those more power fractions. Okay, so the slope, we're going to write down -a/b. The y-intercept, we're going to put c/b. And the x-intercept, we're going to put c/a. Ho, 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 ho. Now then, we're going to plug in the numbers and see if they match up. Okay, so for my slope, put negative fraction bar. Whenever you get the slope, put negative fraction bar. Now then, let's go up to here. This is A, B, and C. My A is 1, my B is 3, and my C is 6 in it. So A/b would be 1/3, and notice it matches up, doesn't it? The slope is still -1/3. My y-intercept is c/b. C is 6, B is 3. Guess what 6 divided by 3 is? It's 2. It's the same answer, isn't it? Wow, shazam! These fractions will give you these important numbers. If they're fractions, it still works out. You'll get them, okay? And lastly, our x-intercept or our 0, remember the 0 is also the x-intercept. It's going to be 6/1, right? 6 divided by 1, guess what? It's 6. It works! Ho, 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 ho. What a blast, okay? Now then on number 6, okay, write using sentences how you would write -6x plus 2y equals 9. I want you to do this on your own. I'm just going to write down the steps. Step 1 is move -6x to right. You are not going to write this down. You're going to write it in paragraph form. So I'm just writing down the steps that you need to switch. Okay? Step 2 is to divide by coefficient of y, which is 2. And that's all they want to know, okay? So you're going to write that down in your own words. Do not copy down what I have here. You're going to move the 6x over and then divide by 2, and you need to write down what the answer is in your sentences. Have fun writing, huh? Ho, 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 ho. So what did you learn today? Today you learned how to graph a line, okay? You're going to, in standard form, you learned about standard form. It's ax plus by equals c. The a, the b, and the c have to be integers. To graph that line, you can switch it to y equal mx plus b. But then Mr. Toops taught you some more power. If you wanted to get the slope with standard, ax plus by equals c, you could do -a/b, and that's your slope. Okay, which is right up here, right? If you wanted to get your x-intercept, that's c/a. And your y-intercept is c/b. So you can get all of those from standard form. Okay, you're about to be taught how to go through the homework a little bit. Remember, you are amazing, you are awesome, you are created to do wonderful things, and you are awesome.